Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, how much good depending on your location. Please join in the struggle to liberate our people from the contraption. Like and share videos, news update. No room for secession. Federal government response to the increased campaign for separate states in Nigeria. Yes, that's what's happening now. That the federal government at the weekend said it will not entertain the balkanization of any part of the country. It also explained that there will be no room for secession, saying Nigerians living together is an obligation and not optional. Yes, of course, groups like the indigenous people of Biafra and Yoruba nation has been agitating seriously to exit the Nigerian Union, brought together under the separate southern and northern protectorates by Lugard in 1914. Oh yes, of course, Nigeria got independence from British colonialists in 1960. The country fought a civil war for almost 3 years between 1967 and January 1970. Now, Minister of Defense Mohammed Abubakar reaffirmed what they called indivisibility of the country at the weekend during a peace meeting in Plateau State. In Badaru words, quote, "The federal government will not entertain such demand capable of causing division and disaffection among Nigerians. Therefore, living together is not an option but an obligation. This is evident in Mr. President's firm resolve to fight any secessionist agenda in any part of the country. My presence here is to fulfill my mandate as the Minister of Defense charged with the responsibility for the protection of our national territory, both from external and internal aggression. Therefore, I would not relent until the federal government and the Ministry of Defense deploy all assets to ensure our people sleep with their eyes closed." End of quote. Now, this is what it's saying. Now, the issue of security, they appointed this man. He is the Minister of Defense. Yes. So his job is to make sure that people sleep with their eyes closed. And we ask him, what is responsible for the chaotic nature, the insecurity, the crisis in the country, particularly in the north? The north is where you have this insecurity. What you have in other parts, other region, is just like normal, disturbances, youth restiveness, okay? Because there's no job, okay? Yes, you have youth restiveness, pocket of youth restiveness. But we have this called terminal insecurity, bandits, Boko Haram, terrorism, Fulani herdsmen in the north. So the north, are they talking about secession? No. Secession is not the issue, it's not what brings or brews insecurity. Secession is a civil something. People are demanding for their separate states out of the country. They feel that the country cannot be governed by one person the way it is going. The way that they feel that they are not meant to be together. They feel that, look, they have been excluded, they have been pushed away. They feel that they are not part of the country. So let them stay on their own. They feel that if the country, separates, they will be better governed. Like you have in places like USSR. Today you are seeing countries that come out of USSR that are doing well. Yes, there are many. The Baltic nations, they are doing very well. A lot of countries there that come out from USSR, they are doing well. So people are looking towards that regard, saying, let us, since we are poverty capital of the world, yes, Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. Everything has been done, all to no avail. So let's separate and see if it will work for us. The country priced as the largest, the most populous country in Africa. Yet, they are the worst in terms of insecurity and the economy. The living standards in Nigeria, the lowest in the whole of Africa. Yes, the living standard, no basic amenities, nothing. People are living just below poverty line. Yes, they can't access medical, health facilities. So diseases, curative diseases. Diseases that can be cured. Curative. Killing people in Nigeria in 21st century, in 2024. So malaria endemic region. Okay? So that is it. It's a poor nation. The poverty capital of the world. Yes, very poor and miserable. They are poor. People are suffering, gnashing their teeth. The staple food in their country is over 100,000 naira. Minimum wage is 30,000 naira. Just imagine that. So people believe that the best way to get this right is to separate. All efforts since 1960 to get the country to work has failed woefully, and there's no end in sight to these failures of leadership. Yes, it will continue like that. So, and now somebody is coming to say to stay is obligational, it's not optional. Who is talking that? Self-examination is not a crime. Now, if you are forcing people to stay together, you'll be willing to see the consequences of forcing them, because they are human beings. So it's not in the United States. They don't force people to stay. It's not by brute force that people will stay in the union. That's why it's a union. It's not a caliphate. Yeah, it's not an empire. It's a union. United States is referred to as union. That is how it's supposed to be. It's union. It's not an empire. That time of empire has gone. It's not this period now. We have gone past that era of empire. It's obligational. We have conquered them. They must stay. Are we in that era of empire and emperor? This is the era of union, democracy. The people decide who lead them. People decide where they will belong to. Freedom of association, freedom of speech, and all the rest of it. So now you say people must stay together, people must be bonded together, people must... No. You are taking us back to the medieval era. Yes, that era, that dark ages, we have passed it. And you want us to go back to it. It will not work for this minister. Let him go and deal with insecurity. That's his job. His job is not come to... The people will come and say, the ethnic nationalities will come together. What we call sovereign national conference, where people will come together and decide whether this is obligation or optional. It's not for one man who said he's a minister for security to tackle Boko Haram, bandits, Fulani henchmen, and he who said you want to address the issue of Biafran agitation or Yoruba nation agitation. Who are you? Are you the people? You are not the people. You are not the constituents. You are not the units that made up the country. Yes, the component units that make up the country must come together and elect their representatives. Even the House of Rep members have not said this thing. How much more minister? Because from the constitution of the country, they are representing the country. Though they are being forced on the people, it's not election. They're being appointed. Okay? Yes. They use their powers and money and everything, and the APC in power to grab everything. And so they have their charade, not election. But in a proper election, the House of Rep members, they are the ones to say about this thing, not one man who says he's a minister. They are the ones to say, oh, in a proper election. But we don't have proper election in the country. So now, when you talk about the issue of unity of the country, whether the country will stay together or not, it's the people who come from the constituencies, elected people from the constituencies. People will elect their representatives, and we'll have what we call sovereign national conference. Those people will be empowered to discuss this issue of secession, having countries, separation, and all the rest of it. But not one man who come and said, who are you to come and say it's obligation and not optional? Who said that? It's optional everywhere in the world. We're in a modern world. People would say where to stay and how you govern them with what we call the constitution. And you say it's obligational because you have this constitution that the military handed over. That is nonsensical nonsense. Yes, This abracadabra, the military concocted, military concussion, and they call it constitution. That's why you're talking nonsense. So that is not constitution, that is concussion, military concussion. Okay?